looking forward for the opportunity to hear from us about some of these projects that are so vital for our community, over here in Central Washington, Eastern Washington. So love to turn over to you for some opening remarks from you to hear what you'd like to kick off with.
Great. I'll start by saying thank you to all of our wonderful participants who are here with us today. We've got Ben, Maribel, Amee, Suzy, Craig, and Dave. You are all doing such critical work to improve the lives of our kids and families in Central Washington. I'm very proud to be your partner in this effort. And I think we can all really agree the pandemic has made things pretty tough for communities everywhere in Washington State. Schools and communities being shut down, parents were out of work, a lot of programs that people relied on were suddenly discontinued. Fast forward to today, and we've made significant progress in helping families get back on their feet. The American Rescue Plan that we passed in particular has played a huge role in getting communities everywhere in Central Washington back up on their feet, getting shots into arms, reopening our schools safely, getting support to our small businesses, a lot more. But I know there is still much more we can do to support families from Lake Chelan to Yakima to Pasco and everywhere else. The bipartisan infrastructure law we passed is going to make a big difference for Central Washington, repairing roads and bridges, making high-speed internet a reality for our communities, creating good paying jobs, and of course more. And I'm, by the way, still focused on passing legislation to help lower costs for everyday working families on everything from childcare to healthcare. But one other way that I can fight for people in Washington State is by fighting for direct funding for local projects right here in Central Washington. That is what is known as congressionally directed spending. So as a senior member of the Senate Appropriations Committee, this is a big priority for me. And it's why I'm really overjoyed I was able to secure more than $116 million in congressionally directed spending to fund projects for our communities. So through that appropriations process, I was able to get $900,000 for the community center at Lake Chelan. This community center is going to be so important because the Lake Chelan Valley actually doesn't have a Boys and Girls Club or a YMCA. So by building this community center, we're going to be providing a place for kids to play team sports, learn how to swim, a workspace for small profits and nonprofits and small businesses, and a place for the community to gather. Over in Pasco, along with Senator Cantwell, I was able to get $3 million for the Martin Luther King Community Center. And as many of you know, this original building was built in 1976 and repurposed as the MLK Community Center in 1990. So money for rehabilitation and expansion has been a long time coming. I know this is going to be a space for kids to come and use the internet, and where Head Start will be able to run some of its programs in safe and modern classrooms, and a business development center to support local veterans. Finally, in Yakima County, really proud, we got more than $1.2 million for the collective impact initiative with Save the Children. And those federal dollars that we got are going to really invest in childhood education and food security programs in rural Yakima County. I got to tell you, as a former preschool teacher, I know how far this money will go and the difference it is going to make in people's lives. It is really an important priority for me that kids in rural communities have every single opportunity that kids in Seattle do. And the return of these congressionally directed spending is a great thing for Central Washington and our state, from Chelan to Pasco to Yakima and everywhere between. I talk with people from Central Washington on calls like this all the time. I'm home in Washington State nearly every single weekend. I have family who's from the Tri-Cities. I meet with folks from every community in every part of the state, and so does my staff. I am a lifetime Washington State resident. I know my state better than any well-meaning bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. So congressionally directed spending is another important way for me to really listen to what kids and families in our state need, and then I go fight for it. And my job and my focus is to make sure the priorities of communities in Pasco or Yakima or anywhere else in Washington State are the federal government's priorities. So that's why I'm fighting for, every time I talk with my colleagues about the appropriations bills. And I am excited that we get to hear about some of those projects today. So with that, let me turn it back over to you, Craig, and thanks for organizing us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Senator. I can't speak to how excited I am and how impactful this funding will be for our community. So I'll get to that a little bit later. But first, I'd like to kick it over first to Maribel and Ben from 7 Acres Foundation over in the north central portion of Washington.
Thank you, Craig, and thank you, Senator. I really can't express enough gratitude for fighting for us and for bringing funds and appropriations to our community. It's making a big impact, and it's getting us one step closer to the finish line for serving our community and serving kids and families. So thank you for that. Quick update on where we're at with the project. We've paid for the property, all the planning, architecture, engineering, permits, infrastructure, and earthwork and ground cover are done. We've poured about half of all the concrete footings and slabs, as well as steel packages arrived. So we're starting to go vertical as of yesterday. Really exciting. If you asked me, would we be here? If you would ask me this question a year ago, I'd say no. There's no chance. But this appropriation is one of those things that helps us get there. So thank you. The funds are going to create jobs here in the community, both in the construction entity that is building the building, but on top of that, in the office wing and the aquatic center, we are creating jobs with nonprofits, and these nonprofits are. I didn't expect this kind of support. Our mantra is always to be kind of a hub of connection for people and resources in the community. To enhance the quality of life here in the Chelan Valley. They're kids that don't know how to swim. We want to change that. So since then, our partner organizations have come on board and done some really great things. And I'm gonna, they have morphed into the heart of the organization. So I'm gonna turn it over to Maribel to discuss those partner organizations a little bit, and kind of it'll give you a feel for the kind of work that's going to be happening through the construction of the community center. We expect to open in January of 2023. Right now, our construction costs have doubled since we started this project. Massive escalation and demand for subcontractors, and the growth around here is driving that. So, but we are steadfast in our determination to make this happen. We're going to be doing some aggressive fundraising throughout the rest of the summer. So again, thank you so much. A ton of gratitude from here in North Central Washington. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Maribel to talk about our partner organizations.
Yes, thank you, Ben. And I'll echo really quick Ben's gratitude to you, Senator, for this appropriation money. We've, I think, as Ben mentioned, we've been able to do some pretty amazing things. We've been able to develop some really amazing collaborations with several nonprofits that I kind of wanted to highlight to you all today. Before I highlight those partnerships, I did just want to kind of share kind of the core 5 core values that the community center has, and those are really around wellness, with the intention to be equipping people to grow strong in both, in body, mind, and spirit. We have a core value related to relationships, and that's really just building healthy families and friendships and leveraging the power of community, of which we have very strong community organizations that we're in relationship with. Compassion, meeting the needs of the underserved and underrepresented. Service, promoting volunteerism as a way of life. And last but certainly not least is connection, and that is using the community center at Lake Chelan as a tool to connect individuals, nonprofits, and businesses for the betterment of the community. So with those kind of core values in mind, I wanted to quickly highlight a couple of just amazing partnerships that we've been able to develop over the last year. One of those is with a nonprofit called the Brave Warrior Project. This nonprofit serves children and families with special needs that have chronic illnesses and cancer. It was founded in 2017, and its goal really is to walk alongside children as well as their caretakers by offering consistent support through intentional giving, relationship building, program development, socialization, education and community collaboration. So they really kind of focus on putting the children's needs first and eliminating any barriers that are especially felt, I think, in small town communities. So kind of just to give you a real life example of the vision for that partnership is that a caretaker parent can drop off an autistic child to play with friends while they're being supervised with people that are trained, so that they can take a much needed break. So we're looking forward to that partnership and that collaboration with the Brave Warrior Project. Another really important partnership that we're excited about is with a nonprofit organization called Only 7 Seconds. This nonprofit's mission is really to end loneliness, which seems, it's a short vision, but it just encompasses so much. And it's, they're really trying to inspire intentional connections by empowering people and equipping partnerships like ours through some of their established programs and resources. Every month, on the 7th of every month, for 7 seconds, we intentionally reach out to people that we love and people that we know, just to check in on them and see how they're doing. And I think there's no better time than this time to be doing that. And so that's we've really believe in their mission and are excited to have them on board. Another reason why we partnered with Only 7 Seconds is because they really, really value diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's very important to us at the community center. It's they say it's in their DNA, and we agree with that. And we also believe that. So we're excited to just come alongside of them in those values that they hold near and dear to their heart. So another partnership that we have.
Sorry, if I may, we just need to make sure we get time for everybody. We do have a limited time.
Yes. All right, great. I will.
My apologies for cutting you off, but thank you so much, Ben and Maribel. That sounds like an amazing project, and I have some family up in the Chelan area as well, so I might pay a visit over the summer as well and see how it goes.
We welcome you, Craig. Join us anytime.
Thank you. So next I'd like to introduce Amee and Suzy from Save the Children Collective Impact. Please go ahead and start sharing about your project.
Right. Good afternoon. I just wanted to start by saying thank you so much, Senator, on behalf of Save the Children and our collective impact partners, families and children of the Lower Yakima Valley. We began partnering right before COVID of all time, but we've made tremendous progress in spite of those challenges. And this appropriation will just allow us to launch further into our collective efforts to really change the needle, to move the needle on the inequalities that exist in education for children in the Central Valley. And our goal has always been to work collectively, but COVID really pushed us into doing that even more so. The silos are gone. There's no room for silos when we're trying to impact the lives of children and families. And I'm happy to say that we have really worked so well together to come up with goals and projects that we know are really going to make an impact for children. And this appropriation will help get us there. So our goal is to ensure that all children in the Lower Yakima Valley do not fall behind their counterparts in urban and suburban areas. And as collaborators on this effort, we recognize that for systems to change, we need to work together and we need to tackle the issue from multiple angles. In our proposed work, we will use data-driven early learning services to expand home visiting programs for children and families most in need in the Lower Yakima Valley. We'll focus on preschool programs to increase accessibility for families to access those preschool programs that already exist, as well as open new opportunities, including early learning play opportunities. We know, and I know you know, Senator, the importance of those play opportunities for young children. They learn so much from each other, but we also want to enhance the curriculum that we're providing to those children in those settings. And we're really taking a developmental continuum and multi-generational approach to our work, because we know that we are only with children for a short amount of time, that it's their families and their community that are really the teachers of their children. And so it's really important to us that we're not only working with the children, but the families as well. And the ways that we're doing that, we are going to be launching mobile programming around food security. So really meeting families where they're at, we know from work, surveying and listening to families that there's barriers to families accessing food pantries and food banks. We want to eliminate those barriers by using mobile programming to get the food to where families are. We also want to include some parent education opportunities, some fire safety. We know from the past years that this is an extremely important area that we need to be concerned about. And so we want to inform families about appropriate fire safety. We are also going to launch a home library build, a widespread home library build to really change the culture of literacy in the Lower Yakima Valley. We did a small pilot on this, and families were calling if they didn't receive their books. So we know that it was successful. And so we want to do that on a broader scale. And so we're proposing to work with a partner to deliver 4 books a week to families across the Lower Yakima Valley, and we'll just rotate through so that we're reaching as many children as we can and really building up those home libraries and creating that culture of literacy within the home. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to my colleague, Suzy Diaz.
And I will be brief, so forgive me, Senator, for speaking rapidly, but thank you for the opportunity. The work of Yakima Valley Partners for Education includes 50 members. We're a collective impact cross-sector group representing education, health, behavioral health, community-based organizations in the Yakima Valley. And as a collective, we're working to improve educational outcomes for all kids cradle to career. Some of the highlights for 2021 of our collective work was to support things around food security, digital connectivity, health, parent-family engagement, and due to local needs, we elevated this need for social emotional learning for this year. And as a collective in 2021, we enrolled 150 students in telehealth, completed 70 home visits, and over 2,000 families were benefited by connecting them to food and technology resources. So the work over this past year was definitely critical to helping families through these trying times. And for 2022, we're going to double down on our parent and family engagement work. We believe that parents are a critical partner in supporting these educational outcomes. So across 3 communities, we're going to conduct a survey to bring context to rural education and the environment that is rural education and the complexities of doing business in any rural setting. We're going to add empathy interviews, and then we're going to pair what we've learned with the data and the empathy interviews and hope to share with you all some exciting learnings that we will lift up and that will emerge through our work. Throughout the process, we will connect it to literacy and provide books to the families in the Valley. And as you know, the Yakima Valley has hardworking, contributing members of our society. And so we thank you for this opportunity and the supports. And together, I'm excited for what we're going to do for students.
All right, great. Thank you so very much. I'm not normally in a position of both facilitating a meeting a little bit and then also being a speaker in the meeting, so a little awkward transition here, but should have introduced myself earlier. My name is Craig Maloney, Mayor Pro-Tem for the City of Pasco. And I have with me our city manager, Dave Zabell. I'm going to talk a little bit about the heart and soul of the project that Senator Murray, you helped fund, and then kick it over to Mr. Zabell to talk more about the logistics, details, timing, that sort of thing. So, so the project is the MLK Center is as you mentioned earlier, Senator, is a longstanding older building that serves, it is literally on the other side of the tracks in Pasco. And so when we talk about the community that facility serves, it really is some of our most vulnerable minority communities. And this has been that property and the park that's immediately adjacent to it have been a long-standing community collaboration. You know, the baseball field that's there was built by the community. We have what's now a police remote satellite location, and that one it was originally a building that was also built by the community. So this has been a long-standing partnership as to provide good community services for our children in our historically minority population community. And one thing I think is really important is the context in which this is. We have not only is the MLK Center something that's important in and of its own right, but we are doing we've invested heavily in an overpass that will help better connect our community. Again, literally on the other side of the tracks to our downtown and the rest of our city. We're investing, and we have invested. Just had ribbon cutting on Friday. For our new Peanuts Park, which is an upgraded farmers market and community center in the middle of our downtown. So we're investing heavily in improving the equity and access across our community, and this center is a key link in that overall picture. This was asked for by by Consejo Latino, one of our local Latino advocacy groups, as well as the Collective Black Voice, a collaboration of our Black voices and community members across the city of Pasco. So this is both something that's near and dear to us as a city for important upgrades, but it's also been a strongly requested by again people who are representing and speaking for those who are maybe not always heard in the decisions making in the cities. So. With that, I'm sure I've missed a ton of things, and I'll turn over to City Manager Zabell to hit some of the highlights in terms of logistics and operations when we're going to do these things, as well as cover my bases for things I missed. Dave, please.
Right. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and good afternoon, Senator, and thank you very much on behalf of the City of Pasco. Literally, the $3 million allocation that you provided it makes such an enormous difference on the project and for the users of the MLK Center. It essentially allows for a significant expansion at the center rather than just a modest renovation. Another thing it's done too is it's kind of smoked out maybe some potential partnerships. We're working with Mid-Columbia Libraries who have taken a renewed interest in that part of town, and an opportunity at this facility to maybe expand their footprint in East Pasco with a branch co-located at this facility. So that's a pretty exciting piece. It's not part of our cost estimate, but they bring with them their own money and can enhance the facility. So the estimated cost, as you probably are aware, about $6.5 million for Senator improvements. It would congressional directed spending, the $3 million. We were successful in getting a Washington State Department of Commerce allocation through the state legislature of $1 million about a year and a half ago. And then City of Pasco, about $2.5 million in local funding. So that makes a total of about $6.5 million. And we are just in the process now of scoping the new improvements. So we'll have an RFP out for qualified consultants to help us develop through a very robust public outreach effort, amenities and the ideas for expansion and options, and then get into the architecture of it. Generally, the scope is, though, we have a number of ADA upgrades need to be made for the facility. As you mentioned, it was a facility built in the mid 70s, and we have a great gymnasium in there, and we want to maintain that. Obviously, it needs some upgrades as well. We have classroom space that exists that serves some of the uses that you're already very much aware of, Head Start and YMCA. But I think we can expand that, the classroom space we have, as well as additional neighborhood meeting spaces. Deputy Mayor had mentioned Consejo Latino and Collective Black Voice through a public outreach process have already indicated for us the significant need they have for those kind of spaces in town. And we don't really have anything available for them now. And then significant technology upgrades. We're upgrading from the 1970s to the 2025 era range. So timing wise, consultant selection, we expect to be about June of this year. And our community outreach will begin a month or two later and extend probably into September. Once folks go back to school, we kind of lose our audience. And then design, we hope to have complete by February of 2023 with groundbreaking in April after a bidding process. and a grand opening the next year, February of 2024. So all this would not be possible without the directed congressional directed spending allocation and your work and Senator Cantwell's work on that. And again, you've made a huge difference in Pasco with this project. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Dave. And with that, so just I'll wrap up Pasco's section and you know, some summary of this. These are amazing projects. I am so grateful to hear about these other projects going across the state, and Senator, your efforts to help lift up the kids and the people that are most needy in our community. And I'm so grateful. And as you can hear from the rest of the speakers, you know, we are all so grateful for your efforts and your time and energy and focus on this. So with that, I'd love to turn it back over to you for any closeout remarks, and then we can maybe get some questions if there's any follow-up questions.
Okay. I did. The one thing I have to say is I love the history of Peanuts Park. I mean, that's just so incredible. I was delighted to hear you say that. So, but these are great projects, and this is, you know, I think it just makes a huge difference in people's lives, what all of you are doing, and I'm really proud to be a part of all of that, the federal government doing its part to help out people and communities across the country. So I really appreciate everybody giving me the update and taking the time today. And I'm going to turn it back over to Amir to see if we have any questions from the press.
All right. So Ellie